12 months ago, I challenged myself to set aside 1% of each paycheck into what I called a values fund. This fund would be used to invest in myself and the things that I found important. And then over the course of a year, not only has my life improved, but my relationship with money has gotten so much better. So today, I want to share my experience and hopefully convince you to start your own values fund. Before starting this fund, I separated my money into 3 distinct piles: expenses, savings, and wants. And while the system worked for me for a long time, it didn't really have room for me to grow and expand. I love listening to business and self-help podcasts, and a common theme that I hear throughout a lot of them are speakers talking about investing in oneself. And while I understood this in concept, I really had a hard time using it in application, especially when it came to my finances. Like I said, my finances were very structured. Savings was for big savings goals, emergency funds, retirement, and I didn't really put a lot of money in my wants. So when I thought about how I could invest in myself, there wasn't really any space to experiment with. Now, it wasn't until I read the book Profit First that everything began to change. In the book, the author talks about businesses setting aside at least 1% of their revenue into a dedicated profit account, and that could be used for keeping profits and not having to wait till the end to try to scrape together money or try to find money when there isn't. And that's when a light bulb went off. And I thought about how I could use this concept with my own personal finances. Thus began the creation of the Values Fund, where I would set aside at least 1% of my paycheck into this dedicated fund, and that money would be used toward investing myself. Now, since starting this fund, what's changed? Well, first off, having this fund has really forced me to evaluate what I find important in life. This account was made for a specific purpose, and I did not want it to become a second wants account. And so, in order to prevent this, before spending any of the money, I took the time to write out my values and the person I really wanted to become. Doing this helped me in several ways. First off, it really helped to take the thoughts that were in my mind and put them on paper. And doing that just made everything feel so much real. On top of that, it created more clarity and boundaries for what the money in the account could be used for. So now, before I spend, I look at my paper that I wrote out and I ask myself, does this purchase fall in line with what I've written? If not, well, maybe it's a want, or maybe it's an expense. I don't know. So now, before I spend any money from the account, I first evaluate my list, I look at the purchase, and I ask myself, do the two align? This process within itself has talked me out of making decisions that were not actually what I wanted to do in life. And it also encouraged me to take several risks, which I've learned so much about myself in that process. The second thing is that this fund encourages my spending habits to actually line up with my values. In other words, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I think it's really easy to fall into a habit of just saying what you're going to do, but not actually doing it. And the thing I love about the Values Fund is that it pushes you to actually take action. And if not, the money is just going to sit there. Before making a purchase, one of the questions that I like to ask myself is, if someone were to look at this transaction and read my values statement, would they be able to find a correlation between the two? I think this is just an easy test right off the bat, but it has really helped me make better decisions when it comes to how I spend my money. Last but not least, this fund allows me to take advantage of more opportunities and be able to express myself more creatively. In my life, I've always heard of the phrase, be ready so you don't have to get ready. And I think this fund is a perfect example of that. I know we've all had an experience where an opportunity has come up, but we haven't been able to actually pursue it because either we don't have time in our schedules, maybe we're not experienced enough, or we just don't have the money to be able to do it. Having this fund at least gets rid of the financial aspect of it. So now when an opportunity comes up, I know that there's at least a little something there to be able to help me out and hopefully take advantage of the opportunity. Likewise, this fund also encourages me to be more creative. I think in the past I could be a lot more of a saver, and I don't like to pull from my savings very often. So when fun things pop up that I've always wanted to try, it can be hard for me to justify pulling money out of my savings to be able to do so. Now, having a dedicated fund specifically for my values, I'm able to actually pursue the things that I want to do and not have to worry about the financial aspect of it. So for me, I have plans for the future to be able to take language courses, to visit special exhibits at museums, and take little classes here and there to improve my skill sets. Now, for some people, it would have been easy to just pull the money out of savings, but having this dedicated fund just takes all the stress out of it for me. And since having this fund, I've been able to pursue more creative adventures, and I've been able to see the growth that I've had in there. I mean, even starting this YouTube channel has been the result of me using my values fund in things that have been important to me. So I say all that to say, starting a values fund is as easy as setting aside 1% of each paycheck into a dedicated account. Don't overthink it, just do it. Write out the things that are important to you. What are your core values? What are your guiding principles? The things that encourage you to be the best person you can be. Write them all out. And really commit to taking the things that you've written out and turn them into reality in your life. So in the comments, I would love to hear what kind of things you would spend your money on in your values fund. And until next time, bye.